Welcome to Luke21 Radio, a broadcast explaining biblical prophecy in the tradition of St. Augustine. And now, from Greenville, South Carolina, here's your host, Steve Wood.
Hello, this is Steve Wood, and welcome to Luke21 as we study biblical prophecy together. And we continue our study in Revelation chapter 20. This chapter in Revelation is perhaps the most significant chapter to really get a clear understanding of, because it will help you frame your overall perspective on biblical prophecy. And we have another handout. We have 3 handouts actually available at Luke21.com. And it basically are the handouts summarizing and emphasizing different parts of Revelation 20. Urge you to get those. The handouts are only 1 or 2 pages each, and following the episodes that we've done in Revelation 20 will give you a great perspective, overall perspective, in understanding biblical prophecy. Now, today, we're doing a part 2 to the little season of Revelation 20. The little season, and that term, little season, doesn't appear in Revised Standard, but it's in the Old King James Bible. That's how it calls that little while mentioned in the RSV. The little season is a period of time, short period of time, compared to the long church age. Towards the end of the church age, just before the second coming, a dark little season arises, and this is the time of the great apostasy. This is the time of the Antichrist. Now, what I want to do to kick off our part 2 of the little season in Revelation 20 is I want to give you some cross-references, because a lot of people who don't have a good perspective of Revelation 20 read it like it's in exact chronological order. And you're going to see I'm going to give you 3 portions of Revelation 20 that also go to other parts of Scripture. We call these connections or cross-references. I'm going to start with Revelation 20 and the first 2 verses. Then I saw an angel coming down from heaven, holding in his hand the key of the bottomless pit, or the abyss, and a great chain. And he seized the dragon, that ancient serpent who is the devil and Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. Now, this isn't from the book of Revelation, this cross-reference, but the cross-reference I'm going to give you is a very important key to Revelation 20 from the Gospels. And the early fathers who had this perspective of Revelation 20 down cold realized that when Jesus said in Matthew 11, verse 29, how can one enter a strong man's house and plunder his goods unless he first binds the strong man? Then indeed he may plunder his house. In this tiny little verse, I've just read to you the entire history of the church age, the little season, until the coming of Jesus Christ. Okay, let's break this down real quick. What's the strong man's house? Satan has dominion over the nations of the world. And how can you preach the gospel to bring people, to deliver them out of the strong man's bondage into the light of Christ? He first must be bound. So he has to first bind the strong man. And that verb binds in Matthew 11:29 is the exact same verb found in Revelation 22, where it says that he got the ancient serpent, the strong man, the devil, Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years, a long time, the church age. Okay? So this is a real important connection there that you don't want to miss. All right, let's look at a second one. In Revelation 20, verse 3, it says it threw him into the pit. And the Greek word behind the pit is the word we get abyss from in English. He threw him into the pit or the abyss and shut it and sealed it over him, that for the purpose that he should deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years were ended. After that, he must be let out for a little while. Now, we can go back all the way to Revelation chapter 9. We did an episode on this, and I think I emphasized back in our episodes for Revelation 9 that this is really important. Revelation 9:1, the fifth angel blew his trumpet. I saw a star fallen from heaven to earth, and he was given the key of the shaft of the bottomless pit, the abyss again. He opened the shaft of the bottomless pit, the abyss, and from the shaft rose smoke like the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened with the smoke from the shaft. Now, what's going on? This is a description of what I just read in Revelation 23. Satan was put into the pit so he could deceive the nations no more. But after 1,000 years are ended, he must be let out. Revelation 9:1 is also talking about Satan being let out and the darkness that envelops the world. That's indicative, is symbolic of the deception that he is again able to do worldwide. And the significance of this is beyond compare. If you're trying to figure out what is happening in the last century or so, I think this is a very good picture of what's going on. And after the darkness covers the world, then Satan and the Antichrist can get a worldwide following that leads to the final war against God. And you know, you have to really be an ultimate narcissist to think that you can take on God and win. But they do. And we already saw in Revelation 19 how that ends. All right, now a third one. Revelation 20 and verse 7, when the 1,000 years were ended, Satan will be released from his prison and will come out to deceive the nations which are at the four corners of the earth, that is, Gog and Magog, and to gather them for battle. And in Greek, there's a definite article before the word battle, to gather them for the battle, okay? And you go back to Revelation 16. You see what I'm saying? A lot of people think something happens in Revelation 16, and then that's it, and something different happens in Revelation 20, and that's not the case. In Revelation 16, it says, I saw issuing from the mouth of the dragon, and from the mouth of the beast, and from the mouth of the false prophet, 3 foul spirits like frogs, for they are demonic spirits, performing signs to go abroad to the kings of the whole world, to assemble them for battle. Again, in Greek, in Revelation 16 and verse 14, it's the battle on the great day of God the Almighty, and they assembled them at the place which is called in Hebrew Armageddon. So the Revelation 20, as a result of the worldwide deception and unity with the Antichrist, the war against God in Revelation 20, ditto for Revelation 16. Now, the big question is, or at least a question I've had personally and people ask me, could we possibly be living during the time of the little season? And all I would say, I'm speaking to myself just as a reminder, and I would say to you, caution is needed for some very godly men and women through the ages of the church thought they were living in that time, and they weren't. So our assertions should have a certain tentative flavor to them. Now, one thing we want to know is that the majority of the world's population will not have a clue to the darkening. In fact, many will see it as a dawn of a new great age for humanity. It'll be a false dawn, just like St. Paul warns that the demons and Satan can appear as angels of light. They're not light. It's darkness, and the world's population is going to mistake it for something grand and glorious. Now, lastly, when we talk about Revelation 20, I want to share with you something that I found so staggeringly important when I became a Catholic and learned about the prayer to St. Michael the Archangel and the whole vision that Pope Leo XIII had for the near future of the church, that the blood drained from his face, and he went in and composed a prayer to St. Michael the Archangel. Now, there's two forms of this prayer. The prayer that you and I pray very often, in fact, the liturgy that I go to, we often pray it right after the conclusion of the Mass, but that's the short form of the St. Michael the Archangel prayer. There's a long form, a longer form, and I think it's really worth studying, but not praying. That long form is an exorcist prayer. It's not for the laity, and I think you're getting in way over your head if you try to pray that, so that caution goes out. But in studying the long form of the St. Michael the Archangel prayer, it is, to me, utterly, utterly significant that it follows precisely the outline of Revelation chapter 20 that we have been studying for several episodes. I'm going to read a sentence of the St. Michael the Archangel prayer, and you're going to think I'm reading from Revelation chapter 20. This is straight from the prayer. That cruel, ancient serpent, who is called the devil or Satan, seduces the whole world, was cast into the abyss with his angels. That's Revelation 20, 1 through 3, but I just read to you the St. Michael the Archangel prayer, long form. Point 2, he wanders about, and that's currently wanders about. In other words, in the past, he was put into the abyss. He currently wanders about with all the multitude of wicked spirits invading the earth. That's chapter 20, verse 3b, the second part of verse 3. And currently is my addition to that to make it clear, but he wanders currently through the world. And so that's something at the little season he's let out. And then the conclusion of the prayer. And do thou again make him captive in the abyss, that he may no longer seduce the nations. Well, seducing the nations is a little season, and basically defeating him, which book of Revelation in chapter 20 goes on to describe. So it seems to me that Pope Leo XIII's long form of the St. Michael the Archangel prayer, and I've never said this before publicly, it is a little season prayer. I hope you catch the significance of that. And it's not my saying it, it's just what it is. Look what it says, and analyze what it says. And it follows the outline of the book of Revelation, where Christ is victor. He plunders the strong man's house. He binds them, puts him in the abyss, part 1. At the end of that long period of time, he's out of the abyss and is able to seduce and deceive the nations, just like he did before the coming of Christ. Just here's a second voice from the future Pope John Paul II when he was in Philadelphia in 1976. We are now standing in the face of the greatest historical confrontation humanity has gone through. I do not think that wide circles of the American society or wide circles of the Christian community realize this fully. We are now facing the final confrontation. Again, the future Saint Pope John II. I'm Steve Wood, your host, and you've been listening to Biblical Prophecy with Luke 21.
Luke 21 is a radio outreach of Family Life Center International. To learn more about biblical prophecy, visit us online at Luke21.com.